October, 1 week ago, a young man who was delivering food for Skip the Dishes, he's making minimum wage, had his throat cut on the street. He's a young Chinese youth who's trying to make a living in Vancouver. I'm here for that man. The people that are there who are being suffered and assaulted. Race hate crimes, I'm here for the victims of race hate crimes. I'm here for the people who are trying to run a business in this city and they can't because they can't pay their premiums and they're being chased out by criminals and criminal gangs. I'm here for those people. I'm here for everybody who's struggling here, trying to find a way to afford how to live in this city. When the prices of everything is going up, when the price of rent has gone skyrocketed out of all proportions, I'm here for those people too. I didn't just come here to come second, and I didn't come back to Vancouver to come third. I came to win, and I came to win for everybody in this city. So people are saying to me, well, the NPA is fractured. How are you going to win? And I'm going to tell you how we're going to win. Because we have the best campaign team in the city right now. We have the best candidates in the city right now. We have the most commitment of everybody who's running in this city right now. And I promise you it's true because they're here. They have families, they have jobs and careers that they've given up. They've got businesses that they should be running, but they're here because they believe in what they're doing as well. Is the NPA fractured? No, it's not. Have we gone through change? Yes, we have. And we're better for it. The candidates that we have now are far better than any candidates we had before. We're going to win when people see the depth of our bench, when they see the depth of our commitment, and when they see the people who are standing up for them. We're going to win based on the principles and the integrity of everybody that's running. Public safety crisis on our hands. And the public safety crisis is people are afraid. They're looking for leadership. I've already said that the leadership abandoned their post. They're missing in action. I promise you a leadership the likes of which you haven't seen in 4 years or probably 8 years or probably 10 years. Not just from me. From Melissa DiGenova, who has fought literally on her own for public safety in the council office, in the council chamber. They've pushed back against her. They've denied some of her motions, but she has stood fast because she believes in what she's doing. She's an inspirational leader, and we need more inspirational leaders in this city. So people want to know, where do we stand? And I'm going to tell you where we stand. Kennedy Stewart is mortally wounded. People want him gone. 60% of the people want a change in leadership. They want a change in government. That's 60% of the voters want him out. So what is the alternative? There's myself and there's Ken Sim. Ken Sim is pulling numbers out of the air. He's pulling them out of his hat. We're using principled numbers. We're using numbers that we can verify. Ken Sim wants 100 police officers as soon as he goes in. They've got to be paid for. They don't come free and they don't come cheap. So he's just making things up. So what we want to do, the Justice Institute have told us they can only take 25 police officers for Vancouver each year. 25 police officers does not add up to 100 police officers in your first year in office. We're going to make sure that we're going to work with the Vancouver Police Department to bring in 50 retired police officers to fill that gap, because we have to work with what we've got. Retired police officers with a good discipline record, retired police officers with a good arrest record, people who are motivated to get back to work and work for the people of Vancouver. They're the ones we're going to line up the streets straight away. But talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. So it's about action. What actions can I do? So we have met with the Vancouver Police Union. We're looking for their support. And I'm telling you is that every single vote that I get, that the NPA gets, that every council and school board and parks board member get, we're going to earn it because we're going to earn your trust. We've just seen this donation list that went out that was accredited to Kennedy Stewart's campaign. And it's a donation list that is apparently from the developers who are supporting him to the tune of $700,000. I would give my right arm right now for $700,000, but I will not give my integrity or my principles for that money. It's really important that when we fight for your trust, when we fight for your money, when we ask you for donations, that you know it's going to a principled cause. I assure you it's going to a principled cause. There is a break in public trust between the public, the politicians, and the developers. And I blame the politicians, not the public and not the developers. And I blame the politicians because they've created a corrupt and broken system where the developers who are in this city find it so toxic they have to walk away. They're building in Toronto, they're building in Seattle, they're building in North Vancouver, and they have stopped building in Vancouver, and we have to bring them back. A housing crisis on our hands. The housing crisis is not about people trying to find their first home or their second home. It's about people who are making $100,000 a year and they're sharing an accommodation. They're moving in with roommates because they can't afford the rent. The rents have skyrocketed because we don't have the supply. This is simple math. The government is inviting people over to Canada, as they should. We need new blood. We need new immigration. We need new people to move. But they're coming to Vancouver. They're coming to the Lower Mainland. And every year we're seeing a net gain of 6,000 new people, but only 900 apartments to rent. It's not tenable. First they said it was the foreign buyers, so they brought in the foreign buyers tax. They said it was the empty homes, so they penalized the people with homes that were empty, and they brought in the tax, and then they doubled the tax, and then they tripled the tax. They said it was money laundering, so they cracked down on money laundering, modular houses, and what's the last one? Speculation. They said it was speculation. And so they brought in a speculation tax. None of these actions have cured our housing crisis, and we need more houses. We need supply. We have to try going for supply. So what we're proposing is a policy on housing that will level the playing field for everybody. We're going to go for mandated minimum wait times for the permits. That means buildings that take 7 years from conception to completion is not tenable. That's not a business, and that's not the way any city can work. I'm speaking to developers in this room, and they say that they can build a building somewhere else in 2 years. Why would you build in Vancouver when it takes you 7? It's nonsense. It will end immediately as there's an NPA administration. But I'm going to say again, talk is cheap. Why hasn't anybody else done it? Well, I'm telling you, if you can make $700,000 by keeping the system broken and corrupt, that's why I'm going to say nobody else has done it. We have to have supply targets. There are going to be thousands of people moving into the city over the next few years, and we do not have the housing numbers to house them. We have to have supply targets. The city cannot build the numbers of houses that are required. It's going to be in the tens of thousands of units. Kennedy Stewart just came out and said he wants to build 220,000 units in an election campaign. Why didn't he say that 6 months ago, 1 year ago, and why didn't he get started? Because he's making money from the developers by squeezing them. That's why. We want to make sure that the developers stay in this city. And there's been a lot of fighting with the developers in the city. The developers have been made into the straw man. The developers are the ones that were told, the public were told they're greedy. They're making money on the backs of the working man. They're making money on the backs of the working woman. But the reality is they're going to provide the housing solution that we need. It's going to be the private sector that will build the thousands of homes. They're the ones who are going to be the solution to our problem that we're in right now. The final part of our housing plan is we must have a flat rate CAC, community contributions. For those of you who are developers, you have to go in and you have to negotiate. You've got to go into a back room, and the administration is going to twist your arm up your back to get as much money out of you for CACs as they possibly can. We are bringing in a flat rate CAC. You no longer have to be the person who the administration can squeeze the extra money out of. Because even if you donate or do not donate to our campaign and to our party, you're going to pay the same as the person who did not donate. So it's flat rate, it levels the playing field, and it removes the corruption from the system. One of the specialities, you have Ezu Zirabian standing here. She is a VPD analyst and crime analyst. She puts together for the city the types of crimes that are happening. She understands how to target criminals and how to target the crimes, and she will also tell you literally to the street where a particular crime is going to take place at a particular time. She's worked in DC, she's worked in Toronto, she's worked across the country in North America, teaching people about crime analysis. Now, what does that mean? My background, as you know, is a police officer. I worked at the highest levels in Scotland Yard in London tackling terrorism. I worked as the leader of the major crime section in the West Vancouver Police Department. I worked on the Picton murder investigation where we recovered the remains of about 60 different women who'd been murdered, and Picton was convicted on 6 of those murders. I understand how you target criminals, and I understand how you target criminal gangs. And we will start to really crack down and tackle the crime that's going on in this city, particularly the violent crime. It's about making the streets safe, so when your family is out, when Johnny tells me that his 95-year-old father is surrounded at a bus stop by a group of people and he has to take a bus to get away from there, we have to make sure that those people are held accountable. We have to make sure that the streets belong to us and not the criminals. We're going to get rid of them from Vancouver. How do you do that? Well, we use legislation. The legislation's already in existence. If I go shoplifting in London Drugs and I get caught twice, London Drugs can ban me from every single London Drugs in the province of British Columbia. For people who commit violent crime, violent assaults, stranger-on-stranger assaults, violent domestic violence assaults, and they procure children for a sexual purpose. If they're out on release, we want them out of Vancouver. We will make sure that we have a unit in the courthouse wherever it may be. Even if they have to go to Richmond, we want those people not to be allowed to be in the city of Vancouver. It's entirely possible. It's about a safer city for everybody, not just the few. I want to talk about business for a second. People are asking, so what are you going to do about business? Because all we talk about is crime. This is a crime election. People are concerned about crime. They're concerned about their safety. But those of you who run a business are concerned about how you run your business and make money in this climate. We have to have resilience. Well, first of all, so many businesses are affected by crime. We still have to rid the crime from the businesses. But as, a young gentleman just spoke to me before about tourism, I want you to know is that tourism is critical to the lifeblood of this city. We will bring tourism back. We're going to bring tourism back because this is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, if not the most beautiful city in the world. People want to flock here. We're going to make sure that Granville Street is safe. Those SROs where the people are coming out and dealing drugs and tweaking on the street, we're going to make sure that those SROs are moved to a safe place if we can. We have to zone them for people who are struggling families. We have to make sure that the streets are safe for tourists as well as for everybody else. When those cruise ships come in, we're going to make sure that Chinatown and Gastown is once again a welcoming place for the tourists and the cruise ships. It's not difficult. It's not impossible. 2 days ago, I sat with Ken Sim, who was talking about the complexities of solving crime on the downtown east side. It's because he doesn't understand how you find a solution. It's because he doesn't know what he's talking about when he's in this subject matter. This is my wheelhouse. This is Ezra's wheelhouse. This is Melissa's wheelhouse. We understand these issues. We are going to make sure that those streets are free from the criminals who walk around it and free from the people who are desperate. We'll make sure that they have a place to go. We do have a plan. Our plan to eradicate Vancouver of the tent encampments is going to be empathetic. It's going to be compassionate. It's going to have understanding for the people who live there and are suffering on the streets. I came from, despite all the privileges that I enjoy in my life, I come from poverty. My family was impoverished. I was one of 10 children and a single parent in a house where we lived in social housing. So I understand what goes on down in the streets there. I am the guy who's standing in front of you and can tell you I sold my radio, I sold my guitar, and I sold it for food because I was so broke and poor when I was 16 years old. Those are not my enemies, are the people on the street. I understand and will be compassionate, but the streets belong to everybody, and we have to claim the streets back for the people. I'm going to leave you with this thought, because people keep asking me about the streets, and I've said this before, and I've said it, and I'm going to say it again, and before the end of the election campaign, I'll probably say it 50 times. We have a major crisis on the streets down there. And there's very little but harm reduction that's going into the streets down there. Harm reduction and safe supply on its own are not enough. If your child, if it was your child, or your brother or your sister on the streets in the downtown east side, and the only thing we were offering them was harm reduction and slum housing, ask yourself, do you think that that would be good enough? Because I know you wouldn't. We have to do better. We have to tie it to treatment. We're going to make sure that people get the treatment they deserve. But we have to make sure that there are places for people to go to. So I worked with the Squamish Nation about 10 years ago, and there was a property in Gibsons, and this property in Gibsons is a Macmillan Bloedel lumber site, and it's suitable to turn into a rehab. And we want to make sure that if we can turn this into a rehab, we can get people off the streets, and not for 6 weeks, not for 8 weeks, but for 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, where they can do skills training and retraining and find a new way to make a living when they come back from there, because you can't get clean in 6 weeks. And it's going to be more cost efficient, I promise you that. So I'm going to leave you with this. I am truly, truly grateful for all of you to come out. We have a campaign that is building steam. We have a campaign that is in win mode. 10年前我没准备好，现在我准备好了，我赢了，你赢了，我们赢了，谢谢。